Imagine 400 years of not having any rights, but being treated as a savage on your own land, and you don't own it. This is very significant. Sage movie.
Would you say the movie's pretty authentic? Do you have any discrepancies with it?
I think the movie is authentic.
Hello, welcome to The Real Generation Gap. My name is Shane Schuldmeyer.
And I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we are reviewing Killers of the Flower Moon.
Shane and I are very honored today to have a very special guest with us. This is Native American Larrison Manygoats. Larrison is here to give us really good insight into Native American culture. We're talking about the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, and he's quite an expert on that area of the world and those tribes. So, Larrison, it's really an honor to meet you. Now, I know that this movie was really good on depicting the culture of the Osage Nation, and I want you to tell us some of the details of did to make this really authentic.
The female actors in the movie, the women were very modest, so they are very conservative, and when they spoke, was like they speaking the truth. A lot of the set that was in place, the regalia that they showed, and the authenticity of the language they were speaking was what made this movie great. If the traditions didn't exist, this movie would be just another movie.
I know this was actually filmed at an authentic location, right? Tell us everything about that.
Correct. The location that they showed was on a ranch and the actual city of Tulsa itself. And a lot of the residents verified and confirmed that the locations of the filming.
And the Osage Nation still resides there?
The Osage Nations are still there. We interviewed quite a few of them. Some of the leadership that was there, and some of the residents that were there, they came in their regalias into the movie screening.
You interviewed a few natives. How is the movie being received by everyone, and what are the comments like?
The reaction I got from the movie screening was a lot of people were still in shock. They were impressed, especially the language I was using in the movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, he got it on point because he had at least a little over a minute of speaking Osage language, and he had a conversation going with the Osage people, especially with his wife in the movie, and it was pretty impressive. And I think this movie would actually win more awards than The Last of the Mohicans or Geronimo. So that's the type of impression I got when everyone came out of the movie theater.
And it's quite incredible because the story literally took 3.5 hours to tell. And I watched the 3.5 hours and I wouldn't have cut a minute. Did you feel the same way? Or did you feel that there was even more to the story?
There's more to the story because a lot of people don't understand the native culture, the actual indigenous population that were there. The Osage language actually has a written. That's probably one of the reasons they were masters of negotiating with the oil companies and got themselves in a wealthy situation.
Well, I just wanted you to elaborate on the language. I know that Leonardo DiCaprio did go to great lengths to do the pronunciations correctly.
Yes, he spoke the language clearly. He had a conversation going. It's not often you see another nationality speaking your language, and the original people would be impressed with it. So, and with natives, once you start speaking the language, you're actually become closer, and it's near family, and it's a better relationship, more comfortable relationship.
Had you heard of this story? This, what had happened in Oklahoma prior to the book or the movie?
I didn't read the book at all. I just heard about it through our interviews here in Texas Insider, and everyone was pointing to this movie screening up in Tulsa. And I started to research it, and we called them up, see if we can get ourselves invited, and that's how we got into it. Before going there, I actually watched the movie to see what it was really. I had no idea about the story with the Osage people and the oil companies. I've never heard of American Indians being in a wealthy situation. So it was very that they would negotiate with the U.S. government and actually have mineral rights to their land, and having a reverse situation where Native Americans are wealthy and then you have other nationalities as your workers. So you have escorts, you have security, and you have the town. The town is yours. Imagine Native Americans owning a town and being rich, and you own majority of the bars and the dealerships. The market there is yours. It was a very interesting way Osage people had their wealth.
It's true. The movie opens with Leonardo DiCaprio saying, "Who owns all this land?" And the guy driving the car said, "Oh, this is all my land."
Right. During that time was World War I, when those the things that were going on with Osage, and majority of Native Americans, the population had decreased, so they had to create a census, and everyone in the world thinking that Native ears, the conquerors, are now owning this land. It was probably very strange for him to actually say, you know what, this is my land, this is my territory. An actual Native American driving you around saying that this is my land, and they're treating you like a really good guest.
Well, one of the things that you said in our conversation before that I don't think anybody, I certainly was not aware of it. How many Indian nations are there on the land here?
In the United States, there are at least 575 recognized tribes the last time I looked. Federally recognized tribes.
That is a staggering number. I had no idea. I would have thought 12. And I live in California where we have, tribal casinos and tribal land and that kind of thing. I had no idea that there were that many recognized tribes here in America.
There's also tribes that are included up in Alaska too. We still have tribes up there, and they all actually have a lot of minerals and some on their property, on the areas that they live in. What I can say is about this movie is the traditions in the movie were on point. The terrain on it was on point. The set was on point. But this movie should generalize all Native Americans. Every Native American is different. For like where I grew up, there's a lot of desert. There's a lot of trees. There's a lot of land there. And I think, well, we're all still here. All Native Americans are still here. I still speak my language. But it is the traditions and the culture and the principles, as long as they're still there, it will continue on generations and generations of people. So traditions are very important. This is what made the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. If traditions were not at all, like I said, it would be just another. And people actually have to realize, like, this is just not for Native Americans. It's everyone around the world. Traditions are important. Cultures, everything you do every day is important. That's what they displayed in this movie, where the women would go out and pray early. They would talk among each other as a council. And also, the Osage people, the head rights, no longer exist. There is now a mineral council. So that's one of the things that it wasn't really explained in the movie, the head rights. So if people look it up, actually, there's not many of them left, but there's only mineral councils. Just
out of curiosity, since you do speak your language, how do you greet people in your Native American language?
We greet them like Yate. In Navajo, it means all is well. It actually means a blessing, like everything is well with you, with me, It's like a relationship.
It's kind of the spirit of aloha, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I have a question about the language. Are most Native American languages similar, or would you say they're more different? Or like, is there similarities between them, or are they all very different and unique to themselves?
The languages, they're all different. If you think about World War II, World War One, each tribe was involved in each war. The Hopis were there, Navajo, the Osage was there, Choctaw was there. Those languages were used to fight another country that wanted to take the United States. They wanted to, because of communism, they wanted to take the United States. So the American Indians came in, and the U.S. government used those resources to fight back and use these languages in a secret language. And because of some of these secrets, they weren't revealed until 50 years later, 70 years later, and finally they made it, revealed it, took it out of the unsecret. So I can't remember the word for it, but it was no longer secret. So the government told these soldiers, don't speak about the war, don't speak about what you've done, but you did great things for the United States, you did great things for America and for your people. So they kept these secrets to themselves for a very long time until more recent. They all came out, and finally the reward, the honor, finally came out after years and years or decades of just holding it in. So majority of these soldiers were their elder in the elder 70s and 80s. Imagine if you were 20 years old, 18 years old fighting, but then they tell you, don't talk. This is secret. Someone might capture you somewhere in the United States. We don't, we might have a hidden cell here that will capture your language and then discover it and use it. That's how significant and different the languages are in the United States.
How do you feel the representation of Native American actors in the film were? I'm not sure if they were all from the Osage tribe or not. Maybe and specifically Lily Gladstone. How do you think it was all represented?
I think Lily Gladstone did a great job. Just being conservative, being a Native American, she perceived herself like one of my aunties, my cousin sisters back in the day. And that's the modesty among elders back then. And that's what, was mysterious about them. But it was warming. It was welcoming. So that's how they showed Lily Gladstone. And that was really very significant to me.
Yeah, she was a very dignified lady, wasn't she?
Right. That was very awesome.
Do you believe that the message of the movie is relevant today?
It's still relevant today because a lot of federal Indian reservations are not actually owned by Americans. They are federal reservations. Back home on Navajo Nation, right, they had minerals, but they still had to fight for what's underneath the soil. And the minerals are not theirs, but they have to have something in trade for it. So it's continuous. Even in Alaska, the current administration put money out there, millions and millions of dollars, so they can move and relocate people from their homes into the cities. So they're pushing these indigenous people, Native Americans, out by manipulating, by giving them money and off their land into the cities. This is happening in Alaska. So the Department of Interior is helping with that situation. And people don't understand that this is actual manipulation by the government and by the Department of Interior. You may see a lot of money, but money is only short term. But the land is forever. So as long as you have your traditions and principles, the land will continue to be there. But with the Department of Interior and the situation with these mineral rights, it makes it short. People are getting short-sighted by it.
I'm sure in countries all over the world, this same mineral grab and relocation of indigenous population is taking place. So as we watch this movie, we realize that throughout the world, South America, Africa, places like that, certainly in the Indonesian archipelago, this kind of stuff has taken place. I remember the oil in East Timor, and what a bloody situation that was. So there's a lot to take to heart in the movie Killers of the Flower Moon.
I had something else to add to it. In the movie, you see Osage people have all these rights. So other tribes during that time didn't have rights. So they had no voice. And because they had no voice, they didn't have the power to do much. Like situations where American Indians were being pushed off the land, so were their children being taken also. So they couldn't follow some of their children that were pushed off the reservations to 40s. And whatever schools that they went to, Catholic churches or actual government schools, I don't think they even had state schools back then yet, but they had no rights. They had no rights. The children had no rights, and they had no voice. So whatever was going on in those schools and off the reservation, the American Indian people were stuck on the reservation. They couldn't chase after their kids. That was another thing that it doesn't show anything, but they don't see that Native Americans had no rights until more recently, and they didn't have much voice until more recent. So imagine 400 years of not having any rights, but being treated as a savage on your own land, and you don't own it. This is very significant. Sage movie.
Yeah, I think in the movie they even show a little bit of that by when they go to the bank, they have to have someone represent them, right? So they can't make their own decisions with their money. Someone needed to make those decisions or help them make those decisions. That's kind of the same idea, correct?
That's correct. The people then, they didn't understand fraud because Native Americans, they're modest, they speak the truths, and they're puzzled by these little interests here and there. Like there's a backstory to it, to like why can't I have my money? This is my money. You're taking my land, my oil, and now a bank is holding my money. So why do I need to verify that who I am? Because of these Native Americans didn't really have rights. They didn't have certificates. They didn't have like licenses. They didn't have ID cards back then. To verify something, you have to go to your local office, and usually it's a government office, and the government is backed up because they need interpreters for these Native Americans. So there's a lot of situations there that, you know what, the banks are doing whatever they want to do, add interest, hold your money, and just so they can keep the money.
So overall, would you say the movie's pretty authentic? Do you have any discrepancies with it?
I think the movie is authentic comparing to all the other movies that were up and out there, like The Last of the Mohicans, Geronimo. They're very, very, it was very unique. It was authentic.
And I'm not sure if you're a big movie guy, but 1 out of 10, what would you give this movie?
1 out of 10, I give it a 10. It has a lot of stuff, the characters about Native Americans, their how they present themselves and how their leadership works, their councils. It mentions all of that. And they also talk about their traditions. And then they pray. When they pray, they were praying out in the morning. They're talking about the certain prayers and how they were inviting. The way they presented themselves to the other characters, and actually were inviting, welcome. It's not the regular old school black and white movie where Native Americans were treated as savages and they were treated as the enemy. But Marlon Brando changed all that not too long ago. I give this a 10.
Larrison, we were very honored to have this interview with you. We really appreciate it. We'll let you go, and maybe we'll see you again in another issue such as this. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
As always, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think of this movie. Is it the best Martin Scorsese movie? Is it the worst? Is it in between? Do you think this movie accurately portrayed the Native American culture, the Osage people? And thank you for watching, guys. Until the next one, see you there.